Okay. All right, so then we good to go. All right, and he is a hospital anchor's character, so I'm happy to see all the smiling faces. Yeah, this is probably the most excited to be here. But I'm hoping everybody is excited because we have two speakers this evening, Rich Stimac and Lynne Lampe. We're going to read for you. I want to, before we get started, just talk about a little bit about the program we have going forward for the rest of the year. Next month on October 19th, if you can be here, please be here. We'll start on the 19th, which is Saturday at 4 p.m. because we're going to have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 readers, which is why we started early on just that one day during the year. After that, 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock on the 19th. Yeah. And then November 16th, which is also Saturday, we'll be back at 6 o'clock again. Julia will be here as well as Lady Nancy Cartwright, Michael Duckwall, and I'm trying to have 2 readers that day too. But don't forget that day. And far into the future, I booked a reading for us today. My friend Murray Thomas, who is originally from Long Beach, California, will be here March 8th of 2025. It was booked today. He has a history with the city of Belle. His cousin Stuart, when I moved here, was the mayor. Stuart is no longer even alive, but Murray's coming back here, and it'll be good to have him.
And that was March when?
March 8th.
Thank you.
I believe he's living in upstate New York now, but he's a lifelong Californian, but he has family here, so I guess he's going to go visit them, so that'll be cool. And I hope that by January I will be able to give you the schedule for all of 2025. That is my goal. But we'll see how that goes, and then I've got to get Jason Reberg on a plane to Utah. So, if any of you have any hard drugs, I'll take them. Well, all right. Without further ado, then, I'm going to welcome up Richard Stimac. Richard is the author of Vertical Lace, which was published by Spartan Press. Jason, when are you getting on Richard's next book?
We're going to crack the whip soon, maybe.
There you go. There you go. Well, Richard, come on up. Good to have you here, man.
Yeah,
Super excited.
nice and exciting. So, yeah. How much time do I have?
The standard, like, 20 minutes.
Okay.
It's funny when people ask me that because it's generally the same everywhere, every time. But I appreciate it.
So, I haven't traveled a lot to read, so I forgot my books. Normally I have some back there. So, and I probably will actually have enough for a new book next year. So,
There you go. We're getting that.
this is great. I really appreciate this. I haven't been reading for quite a number of years, and I started this past year, and it's been really beneficial, and I'm glad that I'm starting to do it. So I appreciate you guys. All right, so I'm going to read new stuff. I have this weird idea that somehow if I read, David Bowie, some of my greatest hits or something. And it's something I want to kind of hear out loud. And also, since I gave somebody my phone close to about 20 minutes. Somebody maybe give me a thumbs up or signal just so I know. All right, so this is called Numismatics, which is a collection of collecting coins. So I collected my parents' dreams as if they were coins scattered absent-mindedly across the floor. In the act of a supplement, I knelt here beneath their bed, opened the holy of holies of their dresser drawers, turned the corners of carpets, the vellum of ancient prayer books. What I found were simple dreams: a paid mortgage, the occasional new car, modest vacations, bodies that did not break, children who tried to understand, all paid for with currency of prayer, nostalgia, and hope. Honestly, they were never worth much, but I keep them in a cardboard high on a shelf in my bedroom. I do not take them down. No doubt they are dull with age, though their contours are rough, unworn by touch. They are not my dreams, but I count them as my own. This one's called Tornado Alley. Tornado Alley. In the book of Revelations, archangels posted at the imagined corners of the globe, they held back the four winds of the earth, but must have abandoned this plot of flat land between Appalachia and the Rockies. Here the winds master the beasts of the field. If you've seen a tornado, you can only think of God, intemperate, implacable, a contradiction turning inwards. We live outside this violence ground, a pillar of clouds in the sparsely treed expanses of prairie. At least here, there is no scarce forbidden fruit. With each passing storm season, we remember that we are unsettled people. Canaanite or Hebrew, either way, tornadoes flatten crops, tear roofs from wood frame houses, snap telephone poles, and like bird prophets collapse the hubris, a lullaby that soothes the heart of a country. This one's called Worry Beads. I remember her devotion, her murmur of prayer, her beatitude, her smile, as if in the act of praying she saw the magnificent glory of heaven as her taut fingers worried her rosary. That was her afternoon devotion. She would heat a pan of her thin soup and set out a bowl for each of us. Beads of grease drifted like clouds across the surface, in its own way an infinite sky, an unbordered world. As she ate, she hummed, just as she did when I was a child, small in her arms, a thread of nonsense syllables pregnant with more meaning than all the sacred texts of all the Beatitude saints. What did she mean? I string these words into life, a vain attempt to answer mystery. Plastic fruit. Plastic fruit in a Pyrex bowl on her linoleum kitchen table with rusted metal legs. On one wall, the fridge, crucifix, and brown. Side, Jesus' eyes forever cast down. Cat's eyes darted back and forth in constant scrutiny. The rueful eternal turned away from vigilant attention. Summers, Grandma would pour us sugary coffee, ardent Christmas cookies and gold-lined platters. We dipped the fluttered in the breeze, reaching, then falling over and over. She went to nap. Like a high priest before the tabernacle, I set the plastic fruit on a cold oven rack. They did not melt. I hid in the ash gray gravel alley. She called me. I did not answer. She called a second time again. I was silent. She called a third. Like a ram's horn, the low moan of a passing freight shook both heaven and earth. I returned after dusk. She sat at her linoleum table with its plastic fruit, a rosary in one hand, a forgiveness I could never earn in the other. This is called Great American Desert. There is no water, but only sandy, calcareous soil, and no trees to fell for a lean-to or to hang a noose. Abandoned buffalo wallow gather stagnant pools. Tendrils of creeks pass as rivers. They make no sound. The only sound is the wind, always the wind, as if forgotten how to be silent. Come south of the mountains, warm desert winds breed with the cold air of the north. They birth tempests. Maybe it's how the mountains subdue the sky, alter its jet stream, shade its sun, keep its views of unbroken horizons. Maybe these are why storms bloom into yellows and purples and greens and blues. The clouds seem to tumble over each other, as if above us were an Edenic formal flower garden, fenced, furrowed, and sown by a maniacal bachelor who breeds hybrids, lives with cats, and breathes dust. As for me, I feel more on the prairie storm. The child in me excites, as if a father gone to war's return, more myth than man, with the rage only paying carry as a fetish. With nature, line entices. Come, trust me, in my violence is freedom. In a derecho, the rain parallels the earth. Droplets string like miniature flint arrowheads. Trees rip from their roots. Walls topple like sticks. Streets back up with sewage. Lives turn upside down. But it is the peace after the storm that admonishes. We do not often hear what the silence says. When I listen, what does it say? That true silence does not exist. There is always a whisper in the air, a prophecy, an unbroken vision. There is also life to lose and life to make. This is what one finds here among the scrub and short grass. Silence is another order of voice. Hestia of crispy hash brown, sweet toast of eggs, and you like stale black coffee, Tabasco sprinkled like holy water. These are the Eucharist of a most holy office. Salt and pepper shakers, sugar casters, the sacred vessels of the ordinary form of this American congregation of men, almost always men. They all drink the same bitter cup. I've seen them at 2 a.m. The gay couple, the drunken teen, the fat trucker, the waitress with the beehive who tells you what you'll order, the short order cook. We make cautious, unsettled chit-chat, hash out a few of the world's problems, lament the destruction of the nations, nod, so be it, then eat in silence. With names like Courtesy, Cornerstone, Eat Right, The Palace, Whitey's, only the decor changes. The menu, like life, follows liturgies. That is why we came. Okay, this one's called Innocence. To have my daughter a girl again is as much to hope the skies crack open to reveal the girding of heaven, or the earth dissolve into the sea, and human life lose all grounding. Her innocence is not so much my desire, my own innocence, my simple times when years were seizured into semesters, soccer seasons, winter breaks. Time had its order, life its purpose. Fatherhood was my act of submission to another will. I bound myself with chains of love, restraints of duty. Who will unbind me? What role will I now? This was limestone, which I think some of you might have heard before. For millions of years, rainwater percolated through rotting leaves, turned acidic that seeped through the cracks and fissures of limestone bedrock, both solid and dissolvable. Now a lightless land, an anti-earth lies with the Ozarks. The paths of a state park or float beneath an overhang of a crystal stream. We know beneath us is a world that both frightens and soothes. Who hasn't stood at the mouth of a cave and paused? It's a deep fault within us to twin once, one to flee to the sun, the other to lose ourselves in the wandering darkness. I think what draws us to caves is that what makes a cave is what is not there. We desire an ontology of absence. But absence is one thing that we can never be. This is what we fear. Our tears turn bitter, wore away the certainty of any ground. We are nothing more than the caverns and karsts that crisscross the fissures, crests, depressions, and ridges of our soft form. If even the earth cannot be trusted, how much less can we? Maybe that is why we buried our dead in caves, to refill this emptiness with human flesh and bone and winding sheets. I like to believe that when we touch moist cave walls, there are tears of the dead in their decay, all the more solid. This one's called Attis, A-T-T-I-S. It was a time of drought when the land was neither living nor dead, not asleep, not awake, fallow, soulless. A crucified scarecrow hung on two cross stakes, hands gutted, nose picked to straw man's eyes. This summer's eyes were fragrant. You would not think the drought undid so many. Haboods heaped dogs stand in the summer dawns. Families planted their generations of wrought iron fence plots. In spring, no corn started. Last year was the last fruit to bear. The priest mixed his water Her age, the past is all she knew. Her family humbled like dry soil. Rebelled against God, she prayed. A plastic rosary bit between her fingers. Were we faithful? It was America in which they had trusted. Hearts trump all. The county is named for a forgotten general. The town, a white house. Soon all the land will be corporate. We all live in colonized souls. A hooded man rapped the door, or so it seemed. Only the sheriff, a good man the next town over, delivered a sheaf of legal papers. In the barn, her son, the tiller of the fields, blew his head off. A perverse onanist, he spilled his blood upon the ground. It's called Fishing King. King cast his nets in the violet hour, early morning when the sun refracted indigo through the floating kish and the blast furnace bleeding line flared with ghostly blues and whites. Built and dumped the coking plant's clinker, dead run flowed behind the mill. King would plant his lawn chair and rod. The canal once caught fire. TV crews from worldwide took footage. At this distance, once the yellow fog lifted, the barges appeared like gilded shells. Some dawns, the glint of metallic dust across the arid abandoned fields forced his sweaty face to smile. Some would call his life oppressed, and if pressed, he might agree, a touch. But he knew the opposite of oppression is not freedom, but depression. To live with desire requires restraint. That is all. Old, sterile, widower, and poor, he washed his in tar. And the sunrise, the city far to the west seemed unreal. He ground the carp into patties and fried them in lard. So I think I'm going to end with one more. My time. It's a little bit more interesting for me. So and I haven't been able to write any tango poems. And my kind of joke is because tango's a hobby, while obsessing on my mortality is my vocation. Bring them together. But I've been starting to think poetry-wise about but the more that interests me, and the more I will maybe ask for some feedback later, is I'm going to read this at a tango dance at the end of the month. It will be a sympathetic audience, but not necessarily a literary audience. And I would like them to get the experience of like, oh, I kind of get it, as opposed to, I don't know, that we probably all had that experience. So this is called Stasis. They are wrong, those who exalt connection, as if we have worn special clothes, handmade shoes, paid for unneeded lessons, all to lose individuality. Maybe it's the separate we crave, the remembrance, the song will end. We will be free to return where we laid our wallets and purses, our IDs, keys, lives beyond the dance floor. We will never abandon. Or money. Nothing's more than me. How wonderful to regain the infant's by instinct, not by choice. Lives what we desire. Irresponsible for a moment, ourselves given in total to a rhythm, a melody, a touch, a body, a God that has taken control and absolved us of sin. We only want so much freedom. It's too much there. Some of us hold on too long, others too brief, as if touch were a measure of our commitment to one another. There is always a reluctance to betray the embrace. That is why we rely on patterns that praise spontaneity. Even the virtuoso dances sequences yet unrecognized. We are like lovers trying to make memories, looking forward to a future that is not yet, when we will look back at a past that is present as a means. Dreading silence, some of us never rest, as if motion were truer than stillness. This is wrong. So what does that leave us in our needs? I say the dance is in the emptiness, the quiet, the balance that reminds us we are immortal. We always want more. That frightens us. The staying of time is enough. One step held for itself, its own entrance, its own resolution, unconnected to a before or an after, unseparated. It's in the stasis where we find the dance.
You look at your book of tango poems. You know, it makes me wonder if there's a Paris, Missouri last tango. I'm sure it's like. All right. Thank you again to Richard for coming down, making the trip. He easily can be Augusta's world famous fried chicken right now because he lives in Maplewood, and none of us are more than that. All right. I am going to welcome up someone who also came a little bit of a distance to be here with us, and that's Lynne Lampe. I've seen Lynne read before. I think the first time was at Gumbo Bottoms, which is such a warm incubator for all of us. That place is awesome. But Lynne is the author of Talk Smack to a Hurricane. She won the Earhart Book Award and the Macbeth Book Award, and has done a lot of things, and I did not memorize all of them because I'm negligent. So with that, I'd just like to welcome up Lynne, and she can tell you more about herself than I could. And so Lynne.
John was not negligent. I didn't even remember to send him a bio until about 3 hours ago. So
A lot of the time though, I go off road and I deviate from them anyway. So
I so appreciate being here. Sharon's the first one who brought me to Belle, and we read together with Andrew Mulvaney, and that was so cool over at the bookstore. And this hope between Gumbo Bottoms and here, it's like this things happening in Columbia. It's just, I feel so grateful to be part of this writing community and arts community. Just this, the way the world is, when we just need all this creative energy, and it's just such a blessing to be here. So I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The other thing for me is tomorrow is my book's second. And it's been pretty miraculous. I can't say I won the Philip McMath Award, but my book was a finalist for it, and that was really cool.
well, you have to give your book a brother or sister now.
A brother, yeah. just a few poems from the book. I know most everybody's heard me read from this book, but I'm not ready to let it go. People say, oh, I'm amazed at you. At the time, well, I'm not promoting the book. It's for my mother and my mother, which is not the same thing. As you will hear, these are difficult poems. We love each other very much. This is the title poem, Talk Smack to a Hurricane. 1963, I'm 4, dead president, shoving me to the edge of her attention. So I shout, damn it. Then Irish soap in my mouth, Mama sudsing it up good. 1965, she yells, damn it, and slaps me. Don't damn me, Mommy, I quiver, as her hand turns my head, my heart. Not away from her, never from her, always from myself. Years later, I huddle on cushions at sessions she pays for. The therapist says, let me try something, slaps a pillow over my face. I fling her across the room, storm surge and a hurricane. Now, when I drive the river road, God ride shotgun, spins the story of hell and heaven, twin parties with hungry guests, ready to feast on fava beans and cakes, long spoons lashed to their arms. I ask why open palms offer both prayer and pain. Cheek numbers one time 20. Soap can't wash away love burns, no matter how fast the water rushing by, or who's in my car when asphalt ends. My mother was diagnosed about a month after I was born, and it's affected my entire life. And in writing these poems, I was trying to verify if what I remembered was at all true. And so I did research and even found an old asylum which is one of the places my mother was hospitalized. Fingered. I write poems with hands like hers. Rounded fingertips smudge the page with mental health and mental illness. Blister as power dictates the same old social contract between doctor and patient. Love me, revere me, obey me, I'll say you're healthy. In 1883, the state insane asylum in Jackson, Louisiana, swallowed Emma Careby, 58, recorded diagnosis noisy and troublesome. Viola Wade, 36, in her affections. Comfort Kemp, 27, homicidal mania due to giving birth. Louisiana State Hospital, the asylum admitted Louise, 34, my mother, already tethered in 1960 to the DSM via the fraying rope of schizophrenia and manic depression. Bipolar disorder with psychotic features due to giving birth. Being pregnant changed her brain chemistry. She said, I heard you caused my crazy, never get pregnant. But maybe she was telling me child, and she was willing to risk being someone new again. His name, daughter, writer, smoker, grad student, traveler, wife, mother, unmothering, when another found the first child. Patient, juggernaut of emotions and hormones, splatter small rooms of the heart, chemical red, track gears and sulfur and saffron, kitten heels and paper slippers. Palm Street considers comic fingers a sign of creativity, intuition. Psychiatry considers womanhood a disease. Some of these I don't read very often. of me was intrigued with that. Following the rules was the so I was going to be a rules follower. And by the time I was 19, I wasn't so sure about that, but I made some not so good choices. To the old lady eating fries. Only a stranger like you can magically, wand wave a greasy crinkle cut, expose all my hungers to the diner. Mama won't like it. You tell the guy at the counter to look at my curls, my Hollywood hair, and he slides into my booth for a little banter. Soon I'm in his 72 Ford Maverick, counting fields and fence posts. Then my feet crunch, enter the old stone. I know nothing but to lie beneath him, hold my breath, muddy the dust, and my virginity flees to creek rock and burial mounds, and everything else waits for him to end, waits to be forgotten. Everything but sucking fresh air when my breaks free. Standing up, zipped, straightened, the ride back to town, the call to Mama to declare it done. This last one is a little one for my Mama. She died in 2011. In fact, I first came through Belle because we would drive this way from Columbia to Salem. The last hunger. Her tongue carves grace before regret, feeds on wind until darkness fails. Death skins 1,000 trees to build its castle. Struggle forgets fragrance, cold empties her home. So the next were one is Rough Cut Elegies, which Sharon and Jason so kindly included in some of my poems in this anthology, and another is in the new one from Gasconade Review, which Richard also ones in here. No one sees the irony. Again, just grateful I'm being held in this community. So thank you. This poem, I read it at Gumbo Bottoms recently, and I said it in my book because it wasn't written yet, but I realized I had later, remembered I had written it, but I didn't want it in the book because I was afraid it would hurt my dad's feelings. And then when it came time to submit work for the anthology, I sort of had forgotten that rationale. I wouldn't read it, so you might not get to hear this one very often. It's those other, they were intense, this is also intense. And all true. Love language. I hold my mama's hand while we visit on the ward. Just once, I won't worry about her Thorazine shuffle or the gray cotton gown she wears. Just this once, I listen to her stories of the other hospital inmates, people I'll never bake cookies for or write into a poem. Just this once, I notice Mama rhymes with trauma. But I won't tell how she slugged the cop at the door when Daddy called 911 for help. Just this once, I won't admire her ability when she thought her arms and legs splattered on the floor to phone friends and ask them to drive her to the Parkland, and also call my daddy at work to tell him she wouldn't be home. Now she rouses over paper cup coffee, and just this once, she won't ask about the black hole she sees every time I smile, a space plugged years ago with a crown. As we talk, I won't remember slamming putter against her right cheekbone when I was 9. I won't ask myself why. Just this once, I label it accident and won't wish she was like other mothers. Just this once, I feel my anger. just this once, it's my job to save her. No, not just once, always. My dad, I grew up in Louisiana, but eventually my folks, after they did all their traveling around, and I did too, we all ended up in Missouri, and they moved for a while to Salem. Now my dad is in Columbia, and I take him a lot to the VA for health care. And this poem came to me while I was waiting for him in the imaging department. They have a place there, if you haven't ever been, it's like a PX, sort of called the Patriot Store. Empty sleeves at the Patriot Store. A woman wheels into the VA clinic for a blood draw, waits in a line 5 deep. One vet asks her way to OT. Another points upstairs with hat on 2 fingers. A man hitches his hip, drags a leg without bend. Halls full of people, broken. Summer rains soften hillsides, water poppies and glass caskets, each lot of red petals, marking investment, no certain return. Our hoodies declare. Dawn, you nurse a hot cup of gunpowder green tea, and I pick blackberries. A fledgling stares from the brambles. Night thins to heron and geese flying across a saffron sky, their gunmetal gray stitching the dawn. A last shooting star plummets behind. Duty scrapes cataracts from the eye of a storm someone calls freedom. I think this will be my last one. It's one that I wrote for my husband. Wasn't feeling well, wasn't feeling well. No sleep is safe in a cold bed. Missing him daggers my sleep this sticky Missouri night. A dream slurry claims me, feeds me by you, angry love, young doe and dying. A steep bridge, the word aliquot, an old air lane with its windows down, me at the wheel, metal cold. Empty until he slides into our red bed and his thighs wrap mine. I release my carapace of worry to his heat. The murk seeps into gardens of hosta and coral bell, pokeweed, sumac, black raspberry. Night warms itself with our bodies, their tangle of light waiting to rebuke them. Thank you.
Lynn, thank you again for being here. I know you had a lot of readings, and I know that they're mostly throughout the region, and it can be weird getting all of that together as you go through the various little towns. We're lucky to have a really great crowd here tonight. It's wonderful that you came.
Thank
Um,
you.
I want to say, one of the things I wanted to mention at the beginning that I did not mention, we are lucky to be surrounded by all of this wonderful photography. My friend Larry, who is from Nebraska, who has been a resident at Osage Arts Community multiple times, and all of these photographs were taken in Japan, where Larry goes frequently, and if you haven't had a chance to just go around and look at them, after we're done here today, if you would like to, I would suggest just going around checking them out. Larry's he's wonderful, and if you met him, he's even more of a pleasure than his work is. So, and with that, I am just going to let everyone take a brief break here. Lynn has her book. If everyone wants to go up and talk to her or talk about the book. Thank Mark and Tony for letting us use this space, which is this space looks about as good as I've ever seen it. And this artwork is a compliment to that, the way that it uses it, and it just looks fantastic. So I'm going to give you guys like 10 minutes, talk to Lynne, talk to her about her book, and then we'll come back up here. If you want to read on the open mic list, it's right here. There's a pen right here. Go ahead and sign yourself in, and then we'll come back up and listen to everybody. Thank you, guys.